first question is, there is an increasing amount of development in Lower Marion Township, which has an impact on schools, the environment, and quality of life for residents. Given current zoning constraints, what is your position on development, and how will you address this?
That's fantastic for job growth, it's fantastic for the local economy, but how do we do it? We have to do it, as Phil said, the right way. I'll give you two examples. One example is how we should do growth, and the second example is how we definitely should not do it. We need businesses at our transit hubs, so we're along the train line, right? That's where we should try to focus our commercial growth. I know the comp plan does speak to this a little bit, but it makes sense. That's where you want your walkers, that's where you want your commerce, that's where we should really try to steer it. On the other hand, one of the most egregious developments I've seen in my short life is off of Greenfield Avenue in Ardmore. They put in an Iron Hill Brewery, a state store, and a Planet Fitness, all within what I would describe as a short little strip you might see on the side of a highway. I drive by there each day on my way home from work, and I see people with their blinkers on. I see people almost being struck by cars. I don't know how that got approved, but if I'm a commissioner for this township, that will be scrutinized with a fine-tooth comb, and I will stand up against any development like that. And now, with that being said, we should also scrutinize all developments when it comes to the environment, stormwater, how are we protecting our air and our water. I currently serve on the EAC. I have been there on the Environmental Council for about a year and a half now. So I have gained a lot of experience when it comes to planning and to scrutinizing these plans at that level. So to wrap things up, we have to do it in a smart way.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, finally, Andy.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. For me, and the fourth ward is a unique ward because while I think that it's important to talk about development across the board, I think the term that has to be used is smart growth. Smart growth comes out of having planned economic and community development, but at the same time to curb the sprawl and add affordable housing and address that affordable housing attempts to deter displacement. We cannot talk about the fourth ward without talking about that situation. I think it's important, however, that when we look at that we can't take away that when someone is bringing in development, that we look at it from the environmental conditions of the changes that it will do, not only from an environmental standpoint, but from a social context. It is people are living in this community to see themselves transition away that have generations be there. And that is not an elephant in a room that we can walk away from. And it's one that we have to have true conversations about. And in my radicalness, let me end by saying this. If there's a developer who comes in and ignores us and said they're going to put a retail up there, then guess what? Then we ignore them. And that we know, we welcome in the community if we're forced to, but we speak to them with our economic dollars by protesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Okay,
The important thing here is about being able to be a servant leader, and being a servant leader in the capacity of being a good communicator and offering yourself and your service towards that, hearing the needs of your constituents. I agree with my colleagues who already said about social media, I think it's important to have things like a town hall. I think it's important about the civic group. I mean, the fourth ward has a very great opportunity for Representative Haverford and Ardmore to have those joint civic meetings. But more importantly, my theme is for my campaign is change through unity. And the reason why I have that theme is because at the end of the day, unless we are able to cultivate social networks and put aside our individualism and look at who are the key stakeholders across the world, bring those people together towards common conversation and common goals. That's how you start bringing people together, where people understand that you represent not only their interests, but the interest of all the people there. And the best way to do that is identify those key people in your community, bring them together, work together towards the common goals that you want in your community.
What do you see as your responsibility to help Lower Merion School District with growing enrollment and its impact on schools?
Sure. As we mentioned a little bit earlier tonight, I think somebody on the panel did, zoning and property ownership conveys a lot of rights, right? And there's only so much you can do at the township level when someone puts forth a plan, puts forth a by right proposal to build on that land. With that being said, I think it's imperative to communicate with the school district, to know who the school board members are, to know who the superintendent is, to get to know them and how they operate. Relationship building is really key at the local level, right? But to get to the heart of the question, I really just think there's not much you can do to stop the expansion of housing as you're seeing. It's more so, like I said earlier, it's steering it where there's transit, steering it where we have services. And it's a desirable place to live, right? That's not going to change overnight. And we just have to work with the school district in a proactive manner to make sure we steer growth where it should be. And on this question, I'm going to yield the balance of my time.
Okay, thank you. Anthony.
I feel like I can answer this one good. This is me. This is my 23rd year as a school administrator. I'm director of secondary ed in Radnor, which is only 13 square miles, and it reflects a lot of Lower Merion. And I've been, living in Lower Merion and working in Radnor is one of the most blessed things I have. To live in a community and work into great communities that value education. But I think when we talk about population and we talk about these population changes, full disclosure, also I have a degree in geography, so I studied population trends. And the population trends that are projected for 2020 is that 70,000 from the school district. They hired their own demographers. But then there is a disconnect between what the school board that has their separate governing body, that the commissioners have their separate governing bodies, have, that what we need to do is to have a non-governing but a joint committee between representatives from the school board and representatives from the township to have ongoing conversations about the impact of growth.